Hello, I am Pastor Michael D. Cameron Sr., and I'm sitting here with YaVette, and I am interviewing her today on a serious subject. We have been looking over and dealing with child molestation and finding out and understanding that molestation usually comes through the family. You'll find most people that are being molested are molested by a family member or a close friend of a family. And I just wanted to, I've got a few people in line that we are going to be interviewing to try to reach out and help as many as we possibly can. But before I get started, I want to tell you, Sister Vette, that all the things that you've been through, none of it is your fault. Number two, I want you to understand that it's okay to talk about it. And number three, you deserve to heal. So those are three things that I want to put out there, not just for you, but for everybody else that has dealt with, gone through these types of things, because I myself have been through similar things, and I had to take the time to understand that it wasn't my fault. I had to take time to understand that it was okay to talk about it. Being a man, it was hard to talk about some of those things, and then also understanding that it's okay and I deserve to heal. So to start, Sister Vette, I want you to give us a little background about yourself.
Far as
Where you come from, your family, sisters, brothers.
I'm YaVette McCuller. I was born here in Des Moines, Iowa, raised in Davenport, Iowa, and then moved away and spent 20-something years in Dallas, Texas. I have 5 children, four girls, 1 boy. I have, oh my God, how many siblings? 5 sisters, 2 brothers, 1 is deceased. My lovely mom, Sarah B.
All right. Well, we're going to dive right into this molestation. We want to know when did it start for you, and who was the perpetrator?
It started for me I recall, and a lot of people may wonder, like, how can you remember a certain age? And it's just, I recall it starting at least 3 years old. And I recall that because at 5, I remember my mom having my little brother, and him and I were so close. And I remember being 5 and taking care of him. And I remember prior to then, the molestation had already started. And it didn't end until I was 14. It lasted for 11 years. It was a very, very close family member. And not only was it a family member, but this person was in church, in leadership, Sunday school supervisor. And so, yeah, started from 3 to 14, 11 years of it.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about the weight that you had to carry? Because a lot of times when we deal with things like this, especially being children, it's like we're holding something, a secret. We're holding something. And so it's a weight on a child to hold and to carry something that heavy. So can you tell us a little bit about the weight or the damage that it caused?
It's a very heavy weight. It's one that you seem like you just almost can't. You never can get over. You carry that weight. You carry that weight. And as a child, it was really hard because anybody know my mother? She's not a scary person. I've never been. She was a go-getter and protect by any means necessary. So I never told my mother until I'm 49 now, until I was 30, and I still haven't told her all. I just remember waking up and I went to visit her. She lived in St. Louis at the time, and I just gotta tell you something. And I laid in the bed with her, and I told her that I had been molested. But I still was scared to go into the details because I was scared of losing her. I knew she would go and just kill the person, and I didn't want to lose her. And so it's a very heavy weight. And then I blame myself because I'm like, now later I did, then I didn't, because I just felt like you don't tell. And then so many people love this person, acknowledge this person, look up to this person. It's like, it felt like if I did tell, if I did say anything, it'd be me against the world. And who would listen anyway? And who would understand? And would it really stop? And it was even harder because I went through physical abuse as a child. And so this person that was molesting me, they would protect me from the physical abuse, but in the meantime, they're using me as a sexual toy. And so it was really, really hard because this person is protecting you to a certain extent, but they're also violating you in such a bad manner. And I remember sitting in Sunday school, and this person would get up and give the lesson. And as soon as I got old enough where I didn't have to go to Sunday school, I stopped because of that. But I remember the lesson being given for Sunday school, and then passing out the candy. And I end up just calling this person, you're in the pulpit, you're preaching, you're doing this. End up naming the M&M man. That's how I look at him to this day. You're a minister by day, but you're a molester by night, in other words. And it wasn't necessarily always night but I say night, like behind closed doors, in private. So it was a lot of weight to carry, a lot of weight. And just so many vivid images and memories. And as far as the damage, unless you've been there, no one can ever understand the damage it does. When I had my son, I couldn't change my son. It's hard. I'd freak out. Didn't want to see it. And then, like I said, I had 5 children, and people that know me, they know you're not just, they know I never was a person that's out there, never, I just have to be like, what they consider a hoe or just laying around. But the relationships were hard. I get in relationships, and I would hold back because I didn't desire any type of sexual relations, and so it's like, okay, you're with this person, now you have to put out. And it was a thing like that, and I was so fertile. The damage is just, you can't even put into words the damage. Very damaging, because I became aware, or I felt like others was going to, like I provided myself more because I was trying to make sure that I protect anybody else that came in connection with this person, especially my siblings. I figure if I don't say nothing, then that person's always on me. There's not enough room to be on them. For a long time I blamed God. I was mad. And I'm like, I'm a little child. How did you allow this to happen? And I still struggle with that sometimes, but I want anybody that sees this to know that if I can do it, you can do it too. And I come to the conclusion that we have free will. God didn't tell that person to do that. I see people that carry children of rape, from family members from outside, and they raise those children. That could have been me, but it wasn't. It's really hard, and to show you how childlike when you're a child, how childlike my mind was. I remember one incident, if I could share this, and it just sticks in my head. And when I was being molested, like, I remember being down in the basement. The basement was finished, the TV was on, football was on. And I was watching football. I got so into football. And I'm being molested. And I remember this person, as they're finishing and they're getting ready to finish, they pull their private parts out and let it drip and then tell me, so they didn't impregnate me. So-and-so called my relation to them needs to quit playing with their DICK. And what stood out to me as a little girl, you're a man of God, but you just cussed. And that stayed with me. It hurt me to the core of my soul, because I'm like, y'all are raising us up in church to do the right thing, trusting God. But here you are, you're using this language when it really should have been the act that was bothering me so much, but it was what was said that bothered me till this day, that it bothers me.
That says so much about the innocence of a child, because you said you were concerned about the word that he used, but not even more about the act. And that kind of leads me into another subject, because they preach behind the pulpit. A lot of times they preach, don't smoke, don't cuss, don't drink, don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat. And while they're teaching all these things, some of these things they wait until we get a certain age to talk about, and they call it the birds and the bees. But when we don't know and we're taken advantage of as little children, people don't understand the mind of a child, because it says in the Bible that we are to train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they get old enough to deal with the things on their own, they won't depart from the ways of the training. So when you deal with that, that's something that I wanted to point out, and you kind of led me into that, and you've been answering the questions before I even asked them, so that's good as well. But with all of that, where were you ever manipulated, or how were you manipulated into thinking it was right to do? I mean, not that it was right. We always know that there's something wrong with what's going on, but the manipulation that we deal with when we're in that situation, how did it put you in a mindset to ease your mind about what you were going through? Does that make any sense?
Yes. Like you say, you never think it's right, but it was the loyalty.
Yeah.
The loyalty. The loyalty to that person. And also, after, when I realized that it was never going to end, because we're talking about like on a all the time basis. And when I realized that this is not going to end,
I was broken. So broken, like, I don't matter anymore. I'm not me anymore. I'm not even human. I'm an object, and I'm the worst kind of object right now that could be on the face of this earth. So, continue at your will, because I guess this is what I'm destined for.
Oh, my. So, the manipulation
Very much.
almost put it as if the ball was in your court, that it was your fault. It was, you deserved it, or you just had to be this. It made you feel like you were nothing, you were nobody, or this what you were made to do. So that kind of leads me into, dealing with, it made you keep it a secret also because you didn't want anyone to look at you in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to continue to take the abuse. And even as we get older, when we deal with so many years of abuse, it's still something in us, you help me with this, that makes us want to continue to protect. You hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
And continue to protect, continue to, don't want to put them out there, because that connection, even though it was a messed up connection, even though it was horrible, it's something that I was bound to. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
So if I explained that right, can you elaborate on that a little bit? Is that?
You explained it perfectly well, and it is the connection. And for me now, it's not even so much connection with the person, it's the connection with siblings, with other family members, with so many others that you just still, like you said, you just don't just put them out there. You don't just say this. And and honestly, I believe it is still that connection to that person.
Yeah.
And I think everything else becomes your reasoning, your excuse, hey, this makes it okay because of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that being said, the person is still has that power and that effect and that authority, and still not physically but mentally abusing us, right?
Right. Most definitely.